Hello and welcome to the Marble Racing League livestream. We're here today for round 9 of Season 5 of the Marble Racing League Championship. So the 80-minute qualifying session has begun. No drivers yet out on track, but they will be leaving the pit lane soon. In the meantime, I will give an update on all the standings so far for Season 5. So it's still Secret F1 in the Williams car leading the Drivers' Championship with 180 points. Then we have Daryl in the Aston Martin on 125 points, closely followed by William, 3 points behind on 122 points. And then we have Andrew in 4th place with 110 points. Sebastian didn't race last round, so he's a few points behind the drivers ahead of him. He's in the Alfa Romeo. Then we have Yax for AlphaTauri with 60 points. Just behind him is Trunk in the Red Bull with 56 points. Kevin, Quincy and Simple round out the top 10. They've maintained their positions in the championship for this round. Just outside the top 10 is Race Chase in the other Alfa Romeo on 27 points. Then it's the other Williams of Diego on 25 points in 12th place. Skid Solo in the McLaren is on 24 points. Verduca in the Haas is on 22 points. Racing Wheel in the Alpine is on 21 points. Didn't score any points last time out after DNF on the first lap. Then we have RK44 in the McLaren on 15 points. Ibo on 14 points. Heights on 7 points. Ultimus Pura in the Aston Martin on 2 points. And Coesley rounding up the top 20 in the championship, yet to score a point this season. Then on to the team standings. Williams have maintained their lead in the team standings, so they have 205 points. Ferrari aren't too far behind. They're on 176 points in 2nd place. Red Bull are very close to them in 3rd place in the team standings, so they're on 164 points. Aston Martin are on 4th place. Only 17 points ahead of Alfa Romeo, who are on 110 points. AlphaTauri are in 6th place in the championship. They're on 74 points, ahead of Haas, who have 52 points. McLaren are 10 points behind them, on 42 points. Mercedes and Alpine wrap out the top 10 in the standings. On board with the driver now, who is 2nd place in the championship at the moment. They've won one race so far this season. That was at round 3 at Texas. The other drivers who have won races so far, Suzuka F1 has won 5 of them, and he has a comfortable lead in the driver standings as a result of that. But William and Sebastian have also won one race in the 9 rounds so far. Okay, we're going to go on board with Daryl now, who's on his first flying lap of the session. The Aston Martin car coming out of turn 4. Heading into the tight right-hander of turn 6. So Lando Norris having an incident back there in 2019, the last time F1 raced in China. Then this is the fast flowing section of the track. We're approaching turn 9 now. Turn 10 is flat out if you get the line right through there. Then the left and the right hander here, so that's turn 11 and 12. Once again, turn 13 is flat out if you get the line right. And now we're down the 1 kilometer straight. Down towards the hairpin of turn 14. Definitely the best overtaking opportunity of the entire circuit. Brakes just after the 150 marker board. Gets it nicely turned in. Clean lap so far for Daryl, he's only got 1 corner to go. fastest time so far is Sebastian in the Alfa Romeo, who's 5th place in the championship. They set a time of 1:31.7. Let's see if Daryl can get a faster time. He can't. He's got a time of 1:32.3. So far, there have been 6 drivers who set a lap time. Sebastian is the only driver to break the 1:32 boundary. The majority of the drivers have set a lap time in the 1:32s. Let's go on board with the other Alfa Romeo, who's in the... Oh yeah, we're going to go back on board with Sebastian. They're going to come into the pit lane now. There might be a Haas about to start a flying lap. Could be going into the pit lane. Yeah, he's starting another flying lap. So let's see if Verdugo can improve in his lap time. He's going to start his flying lap now. Uses ERS and DRS into the first corner. Takes a relatively tight line through there, heading into the sharp corner of turn 2, then into turn 3. Tight exit line through turn 4 for Verdugo and the Haas. They're 14th in the championship. They were 15th in the championship last round, so they've gained a position there. They're currently 10th with 5 drivers yet to set a lap time. Through turn 8 they go, into the sharp left-hander of turn 9. Flat out through turn 10. And now we're approaching the final sector of the lap. So into turn 11 we go. We brake by the 100 marker board there. Flat out through here and onto the very long straight into the hairpin of turn 14. Verdugo is still in 10th place, so no one else has set a flying lap of those 6 drivers who are yet to set a lap so far. Thanks, Simple. Let's go on board with the reserve driver for this race in the Ferrari. It's Endo in the Ferrari, and then actually a bit of contact there between the Red Bull of Trunk and the Ferrari there. Also on an outlap, yet a flying lap, is Race Chase. They're 11th in the championship. Heading through the middle sector, sector 2. Okay, so as expected, Suka F1, our championship leader, has set the fastest lap time so far. They've set a lap time of a 1:31.4. That is around 3/10 quicker than Sebastian's lap time. We've still got 10 minutes of the session to go. So currently, all those drivers in the top 4 on the graphics right now, they're all in the top 4 of the championship. Well, top 5 of the championship, sorry. As we saw last time out, RK44 in Spa had a very successful qualifying session, and also got a few points to add to his tally in the championship standings. He's en route to get another good qualifying position. He's currently in 5th place and is on an outlap again. Both Mercedes are in the top 10, Quincy and Heights. Quincy is inside the top 10 of the driver standings. Heights is not quite in the top 10, but is looking to add to his current tally of 7 points so far this season. So on board with Race Chase now. He's on a flying lap. Into turn 6 we go. Turn 7 is flat out on the soft tyres. Then into turn 8 we go. Tyre line through there to get a wide entry into turn 9. Nasty snap of oversteer there for Race Chase, so that's compromised his line going into turn 10. He's lost a bit of time there. Through turn 12 we go. Nearly lose the rear there as we come out of turn 13. And now down the back straight. The second one of 2 DRS zones on the track. Andrew's left the session. Let's see if he rejoins. Gets a nicely turned in there, does Race Chase. And we're approaching the final corner of the lap. That's turn 16. Brakes by the 50 marker board. Doesn't take too much curb there. We saw Alex Albon have a crash there in free practice in 2019. So it's very important not to take too much curb on the exit of the final corner, as you could spin into the inside barrier. So Alfa Romeo are having a really good run so far. They're currently second and third in the timings. On board with Trunk in the other Red Bull. He's currently set a time of a 1:32.4. They are 7th in the championship. Yak's actually got ahead of them in the championship last round in Spa. So he'll be looking to gain that position, that 6th place back in the standings, and he's on track to score to qualify 6th in this qualifying session here at Shanghai today. RK44 is on a flying lap. He's dropped a few places since we last mentioned him. RK54 retakes that 5th place which he was originally in before other drivers set the lap times. Slowest lap time so far has currently been set by Diego in the Williams. But he's on the flying lap right now, and let's see if he can get inside the top 10. The other driver outside the top 10 who has set a lap time is Racing Wheel. They set a time of 1:35.1 in the Alpine. Alpine are currently last in the team standings, but they have scored quite a few points recently. Unfortunately, they didn't score any in Spa, but they'll be looking to score more points today in order to catch to Mercedes and McLaren, who are 8th and 9th in the standings. Sucre F1 is at a quicker time and is nearly into the 1:30s. Andrew has rejoined the session, crucially, as he is 4th in the standings with 110 points. On board is Kowalski now in the Aston Martin. Also Mr. Puro, who's a full-time driver for that team, isn't racing today. Okay, so majority of drivers are in the pit lane now, preparing to go out for their final runs, as there's only 5 minutes of the session left. This is also a relatively long circuit. It will only be a 28 lap race, although we did have our longest track of the calendar last time out in Spa. That was a 22 lap race. Lots of safety cars in that race, and in the previous race in Hungary too. Let's see if we get many today. This is the apex there. There's Quincy, but he does gain a position. He's in 9th place now, ahead of his teammate Heights. Quincy there goes a bit wide and goes into the grass. That will leave him a bit of time. He does look to be in an in lap though, so he won't be pushing. Hasn't got much ERS left. Let's go on board with Diego, who is in the flying lap. Actually, might not be in the flying lap. I think he is. Might possibly be coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Quite a few drivers in the out laps there, getting ready to set their final times. Yeah, so I was right. Diego is going to come to the pit lane now and put on the new set of soft tyres for his final run of qualifying. This is Quincy on an in lap. His teammate Heights is right behind him on the track. They're on an out lap, preparing to set their final run. Heights nearly losing it on the exit there. So we have Enzo, the reserve driver at Ferrari today, coming to the pit lane. now on board with Simple, who's yet to set a lap time. They're on an out lap, and they'll be starting their first flying lap of the session in a few minutes time. We've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the session left, so drivers have only got time to set 2 more flying laps if they approach the checkered flag, if they approach the timeline relatively soon. Okay. So our current fastest time is Super F1 in the Williams, our championship leader. He set a time of 1:31. And then we have Sebastian, who is almost 4 tenths behind him, with a 1:31.4. Sorry. And then just behind him, in 3rd place, is Race Chase's teammate, who's yet to get inside the 1:31 boundary yet. On board is Quesley, the reserve driver for Aston Martin. They're in a flying lap. They're on the middle section of the track, and they're about to approach the really long back straight, which is probably the best overtaking opportunity of the entire circuit. The other really good overtaking opportunities are at turn 1 and at turn 6. They happen at turn 6 at the end of the first, start of the second sector. Sorry. So on board is Coercy now approaching the penultimate corner. It's a nice turned in there. Doesn't use too much curb in the exit there. Takes a nice tight line in the exit. Avoids the curb on the outside that might lose him time. He goes up into 13th place. That's the slowest lap time so far. However, there were 4 drivers behind him who have yet to set a lap time. Yellow flags are due to the Alfa Romeos letting each other by. Quesley letting his teammate by there, Daryl, who is on a flying lap now. Okay, so drivers are going to start their final flying laps now. We've only got 40 seconds of the session left. So it looks like the first driver to cross to set their final flying lap could be the McLaren of Arco 44. His teammate Skid Solo isn't going to set a lap time in this session. He'll be starting 17th. Enzo will also not be setting a time, the reserve driver for Ferrari for today. So they'll be 16th and 17th on the grids for the race later on. Arco 44 seems to have aborted his lap. Quesley is retired from the session. Chunk has crossed the line. Well, he hasn't actually set a final flying lap. He stays in 8th, he hasn't left the pit lane. On board is Simple, who's aborted his lap. Hyatt has come across the line there. He also hasn't set a final flying lap time. He set a final flying lap time of a 1:33.4. Let's go on board with Veriduco, who has unfortunately had his lap time invalidated. William Lofgren in the Ferrari goes up into 4th place, puts Race Chase actually down into 5th place, and that's not great news because he has aborted his lap time as his lap time has been invalidated. So not too many drivers improving on their final flying laps, but Diego could jump up the order with his flying lap time. That's a bit deep to the corner, that might lose him a few tenths. Let's see where Diego goes and see if he can improve in his time of currently a 1:32.4. Comes across the timeline now, stays in 8th place. So Diego will be lining up in 8th place alongside Daryl on row 4. Arco 44 and Race Chase in the Alfa Romeo will be on row 3. Championship rivals William and Andrew in the Ferrari and Red Bull, they will be on row 2. Sebastian and Super F1 round up the front row. They were both the only drivers to set a lap time within the 1:30. 1:30 lap time. That's all the drivers across the checkered flag. And that is your grid for today. Let's go on board with our top qualifier and our championship leader, Super F1. He's won 5 of the 8 rounds we've had so far this season. Let's see if he can extend that tally to 6 today. he has pole position and has a very good chance to extend that tally. So the session has ended. Okay, we're on board with Sebastian now. He's in second place. Okay, let's look at the lap times for the qualifying session at round 9 today. Suka F1 in the Williams is in pole position, and Sebastian, who is 5th place in the championship, will be starting alongside him in the front row. Then comes Andrew and William on row 2 in the Red Bull and the Ferrari. The other Alfa Romeo of Race Chase, who was outside the top 10 in the standings, is 5th alongside RQ34, who's 15th in the championship standings. Daryl and Diego, Trunk and Quincy ran at the top 10. Simple is just outside the top 10 alongside Heights. For Duco in the other half, racing with Alpine, Kwesley in the Aston Martin is 15th. Enzo and Skid Solo yet to set lap time. They'll be starting 16th and 17th for the race today. So we're about 5 minutes away from the start of the race. We'll be waiting 5 minutes for drivers to select their strategies and fuel loads for the 28 lap race. It's actually 3 minutes, so a bit less than that. So for those who've just joined, and if you've missed the qualifying session for round 9 today, it was Suka F1 on pole, and it's Sebastian alongside him on the front row. And then we have William and Andrew on row 2. All of those drivers are on the top 5 position, are on the top 5 of the driver standings. However, Daryl, who is also in the top 5 in the driver standings, qualifies 7th and will be looking to gain a few positions on the opening laps in order to catch up to their rivals. If it's your first time joining the Marble Racing League live stream, we started season 5 back in January, and this is the 9th round, and we've had 5 wins from Suka F1 so far, and also 1 win from Daryl, 1 from William and Sebastian earlier in the season. Suka F1 is on pole position and will be looking to get his 6th win of the season. We're about 1 minute away from the start now. If you miss qualifying, the order goes like this. For the top 4, it is Suka F1, then Sebastian in the Alfa Romeo, and then William and Andrew in row 2. And the reserve drivers for today are Kwesley, who's taken the Aston Martin seat for today, and Enzo in the Ferrari. They'll be replacing Ultimate Tapiro and Kevin for round 9 today. Here we go then. Round 9 of the Marble Racing Championship Season 5. The 5 lights are out and we're underway. Good start by Suku F1. Sebastian has also got a very good start. As we head into turn 1, Sebastian is alongside Suku F1 and is looking to take the lead. He has the inside line, Suku F1 has the outside line. No contact so far, but Suku F1 has maintained the lead. Battling further back between Andrew and William. There is a yellow flag out there, we'll see what it is. But a relatively clean start compared to the starting spot we had last time. Lots of changes for positions at the back. Those are the two half-sides fighting. Going into turn 6, big lock-ups there for Veriduco. And there's contact there. That is Trunk and the Aston Martin of Kwesley making contact and having a slow exit out of turn 6. I'm going to go on board with them. Nearly 3 wide there. And Sinful has had a DNF. He's had a collision with Heights. And Heights has got a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Sinful. And we've got a virtual safety car. So Sinful is out the race. Heights has dropped to the back of the field as a result of their collision. And he's picked up a 5-second penalty as a result of that. The virtual safety car is out. No one's picked up a penalty apart so far, apart from Heights in the Mercedes, who was in 16th place. There you can see the field spread so far. Big gap between the top 8 and the rest of the cars behind. So racing is resumed, and that's Trunk getting ahead of the reserve driver for Ferrari today. Enzo drops to 11th place, and that's Veriduco in the half looking for a move. He's had a lot of battling on the first lap for round 9 today. On board is Quincy, who's in 13th place. He's lost a few positions at the start. Into the pits comes Kwesley. He has some contact with Trunk coming out the exit of turn 6. And already Suku F1 has nearly broken the DRS range between him and the Sebastian. DRS is yet to be enabled. It will be enabled on lap 3. Let's see if we can extend that gap to over seconds. The gap has closed slightly. It's actually extending more. Heights has retired from the session. He's returned to the pit lane. Wesley is also in the pits for Aston Martin. He's a long way down the order. Bit of a DRS train could be about to form between 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th position. They're all within a second of each other. There you can see the back of Suku F1 is already on the back straight with Sebastian right behind him. Let's go on board with him. He's just over a second. He's frustratingly just over a second behind. There is a yellow flag out there. That could be for Heights, who has retired from the session. Yes, the battle is mainly between the top 2. Sebastian might have DRS. Actually doesn't quite get the DRS. He's still just outside of DRS range. What's lap 3 now? Lap 3 out of 28. Drivers shouldn't be pitting until... Yes, the majority of drivers are on the medium tyres. They should be pitting at around lap 10. Or later if they want to extend. Harder ones will pit somewhere in the middle of the race if there's no safety car. The back on board with Sebastian as we head into turn 8 of the 16 corner lap of the Shanghai International Circuit. Here for round 9 of the Marble Racing Championship Season 5. Crucially, Darrell has gained a few positions on the opening lap. However, he's lost a position to William, his championship rival, as he had a bad exit coming out of what should be the flat out turn 10, but it was not flat out for him if he got the line wrong slightly. He's now going to be under pressure from Race Chase, who was 11th in the championship. They're not really a championship contender as we head into the midway point of the season. But he is amongst this fight for round 9. The two championship rivals battling going into turn 14. Better exit for Darrell. He's closed the gap right down to William in the Ferrari. Race Chase is right behind them, waiting for them to lose time by battling down into turn 1, 2, 3, late in the lap. The gap has closed a lot significantly between the top two. Suzuki F1 has got Sebastian right in his tail. The driver who missed out round 8 is looking to take the lead here pretty quickly on the medium. They're both on the medium tyres, and Sebastian seems to be pushing harder in the meantime. Yeah, so Sebastian looking to gain the points that he lost after missing round 8. We do have a yellow flag that's probably for Kwesley. He's lost it coming out of the hairpin of turn 14 and 15, sorry. He heads into the final corner now. Bit of track limits there for the 15th place driver. He is around 40 seconds back of the driver in 14th place, which is Quincy, who has lost the car coming out of turn 9. Pretty easy place to spin. A bit too trigger happy on the throttle. So he's just coming out of turn 10 now. He has gone outside of DRS range now, unfortunately, from Skid Solo. However, Skid Solo is approaching this battle between Enzo, the reserve driver for Ferrari today, and Verduca in the Haas. Close battle between Racing Wheel in the Alpine and Tronk. That's for the final places in the top 10. Bit of gap ahead to Diego and the other Williams. Once again, the gap heading into turn 1 between the top 2 is just under 4 tenths, and is now over 4 tenths now, as they exit turns 3 and 4. And then there's nearly a 4-second gap between the top 2 and Andrew, and then a further 2 seconds separating William, Darrell, and Race Chase, who are battling for 4th place. Bit of a gap behind them to RQ44 will go on board with them now, heading into turn 7 in the McLaren. They were 18th in the championship heading into the last round, but they scored a lot of points despite having quite a few incidents in Spa last time out. And they have jumped into 16th place in the championship and have managed to make McLaren maintain their position, their 8th place in the team standings. They're on a good they're in a good position to score a lot more points today, significantly more points than Mercedes. Mercedes are currently scoring none. So they're looking to close the gap to Haas, who are only 10 points ahead of them in the standings. Battles further back between Darrell and William in the Aston Martin and the Ferrari. Yes, unfortunately, a third DNF in a row for Simple. I was unfortunately too late to go on board with Heights or Simple as they made the contact. I was only able to see the aftermath. Which unfortunately caused Simple to DNF. Heights DNF'd a few laps later too. But not a good race for Mercedes so far. They are ninth in the championship. There is quite a gap between them and Alpine, who's last in the team standings. Darrell is closing the gap to William, however he has got Race Chase right in his tail in the Alfa Romeo. Okay, so now this has turned into a four-way battle because Andrew's made a mistake coming out of turn 9, and that allowed William and Darrell, their championship rivals, to get ahead of him. Race Chase is going to have DRS coming out of turn 13 and might go for a move down the inside here. And there's been a change for the lead, so that is Sebastian getting ahead of Suzuki F1. Darrell has got ahead of William, it's walking off now. But unfortunately Race Chase has not quite made the move on Andrew, who made a mistake early in the lap. Quincy has got ahead of Enzo. So the two reserve drivers for today's race, they're currently in the bottom two positions. got a yellow flag in sector 2. That's for Kwesley. Kwesley nearly lapped down now. Side-by-side action between Daryl and William. That's very close between them. And William shuts the door there coming out of turn 2. And now 3. And now they're heading towards turn 6. Let's see if Daryl goes to move down the inside here. That'll be very aggressive. He's not too close enough to do that. Andrew's right behind them. Race Chaser's right behind him. 4 seconds behind that battle for 3rd place is RQ44 in the McLaren. He has a bit of a gap ahead of Diego and the other Williams. Sebastian and the Alfa Romeo have extended the gap to 5 tenths between him and Super F1, our championship leader. There's some quite large gaps outside of the top 6. Not in too many battles. It's Verdugo who's just outside the top 10. That's a racing wheel in the Alpine, closing in on Trunk and the Red Bull. Trunk unfortunately lost a position in the driver standings after the last round. So he'll be looking to regain that position over Yax, who isn't racing today. Neither of the AlphaTauris are racing. And that's going to give an opportunity to Haas to overtake them in the standings for 6th place. The Verdugo will be looking to score lots of points. The only way that they can get to 6th place today in the standings is if they finish probably in the top 5 or something. As RPM Civil can't score any points after his DNF on that one. Some changing for positions further back, so that's Quincy losing place to Enzo. And then we have Skid Solo a few seconds ahead of them, who's approaching turn 1 now, in McLaren. That's Verdugo going through turn 3, just had a racing wheel. Kwesley has spun again. Let's go on board with him now. So that he's just been lapped by Kwesley spun again coming out of turn 10. Not a great race so far for Kwesley and Aston Martin, the reserve driver for Aston Martin today. Okay. Looking like a very good opportunity for Super F1. He's going to be gaining a lot on Sebastian as we head down this very long straight towards a hairpin of turn 14. DRS open, let's go on board with him. He's going to take the inside line into turn 1. Super F1 takes the lead again in round 9. Locks up a bit. Is that going to give an opportunity to the rest? No, it doesn't. Super F1 maintains a position coming out of turn 15 as we head onto lap 9. Let's go back to the close battle behind them between 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th place. That battle has essentially split into 2 halves, so a battle between William and Daryl, and Andrew is outside of DRS range in the Red Bull and has got Race Chase right in his tail. The Alfa Romeos, both of the Alfa Romeos looking very quick today, and they'll be looking to get ahead of Aston Martin in the standings today. In order for Aston Martin to maintain their position in the team standings, they'll need Kwesley to get back up there into the top 10. On board at the back of this DRS train with Race Chase, who's in 6th place. You can see Andrew, Daryl and William, who are all fighting for 2nd place in the championship. The gap between 2nd and 1st is very large, and it will be very difficult to close as we head into the halfway point of the season. Out of all those 4 drivers, it looks like Sebastian. Oh, so sorry. So Sebastian has actually got the lead again, and they're going to go side by side. Not quite side by side, going to turn 16. The Super F1 is so close to him on the exit there. They're going to go side by side into turn 1 as we head into lap 10. Super F1 is just ahead of him, and will take the whole shot into turn 1. Once again, just like last round, a very close battle between the leaders and just as in Hungary. These two were battling very hard in Hungary. I think I remember Sukrov won that round. Sebastian has only won 1 round so far. He's been very quick all season. He won an Imola, which I think might have been round 6 of the championship. Let's go back on board for the battle for third of this race. Yeah, so quite a big gap now between Daryl and Andrew. So that battle for third has basically turned into a battle between third and fourth place, and then a battle between the fifth and sixth place positions. Then a bit of a gap back to RK44. Then Diego, Trunk, and Racing Wheel in the Alpine rounding up the top 10. There you can see him on the left of the screen. Duco is just about within DRS with DRS range coming into turn 11 and then 12 and 13. He'll have DRS coming out the straight. Skid Solo in the other McLaren is just outside of DRS range. Let's go on board to the drivers outside the top 10. So we have Enzo, our reserve driver for Ferrari today. I'll go back to the battle for 5th place. For Andrew, there was some close battling between Andrew and Race Chase. They're on lap 11 now. So we're rapidly approaching halfway distance. Quincy pits, so he's our first driver to pit. He's going to change from the medium tyres probably to the hards. And possibly to the end of the race too. Okay, so Quincy leaves the pit lane on some new hard tyres. Let's see if that early gamble pays off. However, there's not really a high chance of there being a safety car, so that shouldn't impact him negatively for this round. Yellow flags out, that's for Kwesley again. Bit of a hairy moment there for Trunk coming out of turn 12, but he's just outside of DRS range of Diego in 8th place. Both are leaders pit, so that's Sukrov 1 and Sebastian in the Alfa Romeo pitting. After that, William Loughran in the Ferrari to take the lead. And interestingly, out of that four-way battle, only William in the Ferrari and Race Chase in the Alfa Romeo have chosen to stay out. Interesting choice by Race Chase, he's on the medium tyres. Very close battle between Diego and Sebastian, who's just left the pit lane. And Trunk is closing in that gap as 2. He is within DRS range, but unfortunately there's no DRS until the end of the lap. So, and he's very close to losing it there. He will unfortunately be outside of DRS range, probably for this lap. Then we're going to go on board with Daryl on the hard tyres. The Aston Martin driver in 2nd place in the championship. They're on 125 points. They are 55 points away from the championship lead. So as we approach the midway point of the season, there doesn't necessarily need to be a drastic change. But all it will take is a few rounds for Sukrov 1 to have a few bad results to close that gap down significantly. There is a yellow flag in sector 1, but that's for Daryl's teammate, Kwesley, for this round. We're now gonna go on board with the battle for the lead. This isn't the battle for the net lead. William and Race Chase are still yet to pits. Interesting choice by Race Chase. Unlike the drivers he was racing up against earlier in the race today, he has chosen to stay out for a few more laps on the medium tyres. I would imagine he would come in at the end of this lap or the next as we approach halfway distance. he will definitely be doing a stint on the hard tire. Sorry. The majority of the field are on the hard tires now. The RK44 locks up. That is going to give Suka F1, our net race leader, to have a go at him on, yeah, at the hairpin of turn 14. As we approach halfway distance, and Sebastian is very close in too. So the battle for the net race lead is far from over. With 15 laps to go. Diego won't be, Suka F1 won't be too pleased with that, so that's going to give Sebastian a big toe coming down the back straight, the very long back straight, heading towards the hairpin of turn 14. Is he going to go for a move? Oh, both cars are down into turn 14. He's going to go for a move down the inside here. Not quite. Suka F1 misses the apex, but gets a nice exit there. And he will maintain the lead, at least for the rest of this lap. Let's see if he can maintain it on lap 14. So as expected, Race Chase is now in the pits. He's going to change for some hard tyres. So it's all about whether he gets out ahead of Andrew, who was fighting up against before the pit stops. And the strategy hasn't paid off, sadly, so Andrew has got ahead of him, and it's going to be very close between him and Racing Wheel. Actually, Racing Wheel quite far away back, but Race Chase is now in 8th place. He will make up a few positions as Diego and RK44 are yet to pit. But he was already behind Andrew, but the gap was much closer before the first round of pit stops. Turns in early to that corner, might lose a bit of time there, warming up the hard tyres. Quincy has got ahead of Veriduco in the Haas, and Veriduco actually pits, so let's come board with him as he comes into the pit lane. Oh, he's actually exiting the pit lane. The driver behind him, Kwesley, has just come across the timing line. However, I think he might be a lap down. Back on board with Sebastian and Suka F1, the favourites for the race win today. As we head into turn 1, but anything can happen, as we can sometimes get 3 and 4 safety cars in the MBRL Racing League races, as we've seen in our recent rounds in Spa and Hungary. We've yet seen a safety car this run. There was a virtual safety car due to the contact between RPM, Simple and Heights. They are both out of the race as a result of that. The more drivers pitting, that's Diego coming out the pits. Skid Solo is a few seconds behind him, will be looking to close the gap to Diego as he warms up his tyres. So Endo, who started the race on the hard tyres, is now on the medium tyres as he heads out the pit lane. Veriduco will get ahead of him. Actually, that'll be really close. No, it's not that close, but Enzo drops to 14th place as he comes up the pit lane. I think Veriduco might have been ahead of him anyway before the first round of pit stops. Darrell has a very big gap ahead of him towards RK44 in the McLaren, who is yet to pit, one of the only drivers yet to pit. Let's see if he comes to the pit lane now. He is in the hard tyres. William is also in the hard tyres. Okay, so RK44 is the next hard runner to come to the pit lane. I would imagine William would come to the pit lane soon. That gap between Suka F1 and Sebastian and William Lofgren is closing down rapidly, and will soon be under 5 seconds. Let's go back on board with Race Chase. So RQ44 pits, so that's put Race Chase back into the 6th place that he was in before the first round of pit stops. However, he has lost about 5 seconds to Andrew before the first round of pit stops due to taking a different strategy, which didn't work out. Yeah, so pitting earlier seemed to be the better strategy for the drivers that started on the medium tyres. Yellow flag in sector 3, that was for Wesley, who's going to be letting, so that might be Enzo by. Oh no, it's actually William Lofgren who's going to put a second lap in him. And there's Super F1, our net race leader, they're actually going to try and get the tow from the lapped car. Verdugo and Skid Solo battling. Skid Solo's come to the pit for a fresh set of hard tyres. Oh sorry, of medium tyres. The majority of drivers in for the top 10 are in hard tyres. However, that will change as William will go onto the medium tyres. William has come to the pit lane now. So he's he is the final driver to make his pit stop, apart from, he's the final driver to make his first pit stop. Changing his 16 lap old hard tyres, and he's now onto a fresh set of mediums. Right behind him is Wesley, who's also come to the pit lane. So where does William end up? Fortunately, he has got out ahead of Race Chase, so that's good news for him. He has lost a position to Andrew. However, that was expected as he was on the slower tyre for his first stint. He is now on the quicker medium tyres and will be looking to close that 4.6 second gap to Andrew. And Daryl, who is in 3rd place currently and is only 1.6 seconds ahead of Andrew in the Red Bull. So Daryl, Andrew and William, 3rd, 4th and 5th place at the moment. They're in a very close battle for 2nd place in the championship. And all of them are essentially looking to close that 50-point gap to Super F1, our championship leader, currently in the driver standings. We've only got 9 rounds to go after this, so they need to start closing that gap quickly, otherwise they will run out of races to do so. There's been another change for the lead, so Sebastian has got ahead of Super F1 as we head into the final corner and about to start lap 18. 11 laps to go. Sebastian has got the lead momentarily, but Super F1 is right in his tail as we head into the beginning of lap 18 for our leaders. Super F1 might have looked down the inside coming to turn 6, however, there is no DRS unfortunately coming into this corner. He had the best cut opportunity going to the hairpin at the end of the lap. Closest battle so far is between Skid Solo and Verdugo. Skid Solo is going to have a look down the inside of Verdugo here as we approach turn 14. That's the McLaren getting ahead of the Haas. They've been swapping positions constantly for the previous few laps. They aren't too far behind Enzo, the reserve driver for Ferrari today. Just ahead of Enzo is Racing Wheel, who is under a second ahead of Enzo on the medium tyres. Okay, let's go back on board with our leaders now. Gap is closing to under 5 tenths, but it might not be enough for Super F1 to go down the inside here. Yeah, he backs out of it, coming to turn 14. But he does have another 10 laps to try and make that move, so pressure's not really on for Super F1, for neither of these drivers yet. However, if we get a safety car in the coming laps, that will give a great opportunity for pretty much all the drivers to take a fresh set of mediums at the moment. If we get a safety car in like 5 laps time, that'd be a good opportunity for them to actually use the soft tyres. We've only seen Heights use the soft tyres so far. That was when he left the pit lane to retire from the race. No, they technically haven't been used for the entirety of the race by any of the drivers. Let's go back to this close battle for the final podium position. The Aston Martin and the Red Bull battling. That's Daryl and Andrew, championship rivals. And then we have William in the Ferrari, who is third place in the championship. Is only 3 points behind Daryl in the standings, so if he wants to get ahead of Daryl in the standings, he's got to get ahead of him on track today. Gap is very close between the top two now. We could be seeing another move for the lead here. So it's been a very close battle between these two all race long. But it looks like we might be getting another change for the lead here. Suzuka F1 is only 2 tenths away. He's going to go down the inside here. Oh, but he tactically lets Sebastian go. So he's going to wait. He's probably going to wait for the end of the race to go for a move down the inside on the final lap. And Sebastian would have actually noticed that he backed out, so he will try to get outside of DRS range of Suzuka F1. So yeah, Suzuka F1 clearly purposely waiting for the final lap in order to use the DRS to get the overtake done. Closes the gap again, but intentionally doesn't go for a move down the inside. Gets very close though to Sebastian. Possibly trying to make Sebastian get distracted or possibly make a mistake. Which could happen. We still have 8 laps of the race to go. Closest battle at the moment looks to be for the battle for 10th place. That's Enzo going around the outside of Quincy there. And Racing Wheel is just behind them in the 3-way battle. Enzo locks up, and that's Quincy in the Mercedes who's dropped outside the top 10 now. Racing Wheel in the Alpine is in 12th place. As we head on to lap 20 for these drivers, however, Sebastian and Suzuka F1 are approaching lap 21. They're heading down the penultimate straights. Suzuka F1, I mean, he could actually get down the inside here, but he might purposely back off again. Yeah, as we head into turn 14. Gap closing very quickly between Andrew and Daryl. The battle for the final podium place. Daryl defends the inside line. Andrew nearly goes in the grass there. Quincy's left the session. Let's go on board with them. Andrew locks up, and that's going to give the place back to Daryl. They're going to go side by side into turn 16. Very close between them. He sensibly lets Daryl by, taking the outside line into the final corner. And that's unfortunately compromised him and has given William, the driver third place in the championship, to get back into 4th place, and he's going to look to get ahead of his championship rival Daryl. The gap between these two in the championship is only 3 points, so it's game on between these two drivers. Yes, the Suzuka F1 clearly looks to be the faster car here, but I wouldn't be surprised if he intentionally waits until the final lap to get the overtake done on Sebastian. The DRS is so powerful on that back straight on the final sector of the lap. So but after these two, there's a 16-second gap, well, nearly a 17-second gap back to Daryl, and then William, who has closed the gap right down to just over 2 tenths. He can have a great opportunity going to turn 14. Oh, and that's Daryl nearly losing it there. That's going to have a great opportunity to Andrew, as they both have to lift up the throttle. We could be getting a 3 wide here into turn 14, but Andrew's getting the biggest tow here. Very close between the 3 there. They just about avoided collision. Daryl goes slightly wide, that might compromise him a bit. Not quite, he's going to maintain that 3rd place for the moment. It's a very close battle between these top 3 drivers. But not the top 3 drivers, 3rd, 4th and 5th place. The top 2 are nearly 18 seconds ahead. They're extending that gap but by around 1 second a lap at the moment. I wonder what's happened to Daryl. He has suddenly dropped to 6th place. All of a sudden, Andrew and William and Race Chase all got ahead of him. Yeah, I wonder if Darrell made a mistake, because he's lost about 10 seconds, or nearly 10 seconds there, because even Race Chase, who was 6 seconds behind that train of 3 cars, that battle for 3rd place. He's actually managed to drop behind a Race Chase, but he is in DRS range. Quite a costly mistake actually, because that will put William ahead of him in the championship standings. So William on the Ferrari is on track to get 2nd place in the standings by the end of this round. There has been a change for the lead though. Suzuka F1 has decided to get the lead early. He was purposely lifting back on previous laps to let Sebastian keep the lead and not have the DRS. However, it will be the other way around now, so that it will be Sebastian who will get the DRS if he remains within a second of Suzuka F1, heading into the next DRS zone. There's been a change for position, so that's Darrell ahead of Race Chase. Very close between the two coming out of turn 14, but Race Chase drops to 6th place. Despite this, Race Chase will probably end up in the top 10 by the end of this round. The top 10 of the driver standings. And there we've got Jonk and Diego fighting for 8th place. A 17.6 second gap back to Enzo in the Ferrari. He's on track to score points, however, as he's a reserve driver, they won't count to Ferrari's tally, sadly. So it looks like Williams and Alfa Romeo are on track to score the most points out of any team for this round. Unfortunately for Aston Martin and Ferrari, only one of their drivers will score points. And Aston Martin are at risk of losing their 4th place in the standings to Alfa Romeo. Darrell managed to get ahead of Race Chase a few laps ago, however, Race Chase is still within DRS range. But when we go back on board with Sebastian, he managed to close the gap down the back straight to just under 3/10. It's gone over 3/10 now as we head out the final corner. So we've got 5 laps to go now, so it's game on for the top 2 as we head into turn 1. Let's remain with the top 2 as we head into turn 3 and 4. Bit of a wide exit there for Suzuka F1. That's actually going to give a great opportunity to Sebastian. Heading into turn 6, he's not going to go for the move down the inside, as we saw Daniel Ricciardo do back in 2018. That seems like such a long time ago. And we're going to go back on board with Race Chase. Close battle for 5th place here between Race Chase and Darrell and the Aston Martin. Yeah, for Aston Martin, not a great race for them. They are on track to lose their current 4th place in the team standings. Let's go back on board with the leaders. Okay. So Sebastian is probably not going to get past Suzuka on this lap, but he has got 3 more laps to, actually 4 more laps to get this move done on Suzuka F1. Suzuka F1 goes wide, but he still maintains a position ahead of Sebastian. Bit of a heart and mouth moment there between for Suzuka F1. Yes, so the battle for lead is currently the closest battle on the track. The other battles are between Andrew and William. Race Chase has essentially fallen out of DRS range now of Darrell, so it'll be hard for him. He does have DRS, just about. And then we have RQ44, who is hanging on to that battle for 5th place. Let's see if he can join that battle as we approach the final lap of the race. RK44 is on track for a very good result for McLaren. McLaren aren't too far away from Haas in the standings. They're only 10 points behind, so RK44 could close that gap down significantly. Yes, lots of lucking up there. Yeah, no one's brakes are exploding, fortunately. Definitely not in the F1 game. Okay. So gonna go board with Suku F1. Desperately trying to get that gap between him and Sebastian in second place to over seconds to prevent him from gaining DRS on the final laps of this race. The round after this, so round 10 will be, we're going to go back to street circuit, so it's Jeddah next round. One of my favourite tracks, probably one of my favourite tracks from the Mab Racing League calendar. We tend to see lots of safety cars there, particularly in the Mab Racing League. So as predicted, RK44 is now within DRS range of this battle for 5th place. So this three-way battle is starting to get really exciting between Daryl, Race Chase and RK44. And it looks like Daryl's made a mistake there. So Daryl has lost the position to Race Chase, and now RK44 on the medium tyres might be going for a move down the inside. Well, it's actually Daryl looking for a move down the inside here, but doesn't quite get it done. And misses the apex, so that will give RK44 probably an opportunity down to 10-14. There is another three-way battle between Quincy, Skid Solo and Racing Mule. This is a battle outside the top 10. Still a close battle between these two, so Andrew and William, championship rivals, Ferrari and Red Bull. Bit of a gap between Ferrari and Red Bull in the team standings, but William is looking to get ahead of Daryl in the driver standings by the end of this round at least. That battle for second place in the driver standings has been close all season long. Yes, it was meant to be Ferrari Day. And let's go back on board with the other Red Bull of Trunk. We haven't been on board with him for much of this race. He's had a relatively quiet race so far, but he has slowly been chipping down the gap between him and Diego. This is the battle for 8th place. So I'd imagine drivers are saving their ERS for the final lap, especially for the drivers who are in very close battles. So that's Suko, F1 and Sebastian fighting for the lead, Andrew and William fighting for the final podium position, and then Daryl and Race Chase, the Aston Martin and the Alfa Romeo. Then there's this battle for 8th and 9th place. That's Diego and Tronk, and the Williams and then the Red Bull. There's Enzo, the reserve driver for Ferrari today, having a bit of a race in his own. He's in comfortably in 10th position, 7 seconds ahead of Quincy in the Mercedes. Mercedes not having a great race, they're on track to not score many points this round. Okay. So we are heading on to the final lap. So this is Suko F1. Suko F1 has started the final lap of the race. Sebastian is right behind him. What has happened to Race Chase? He seems to have made a mistake there and has lost place to Daryl. Daryl has gone back up into 5th place. And that means that if it stands this way, if William does not get ahead of Andrew, it will mean that Daryl will maintain his second place in the championship, for this round at least. So unfortunately, Suko F1, who has managed to get 5 race wins so far this season, He has not managed to break the DRS between Sebastian. Not sure what happened there for Sebastian. But the gap is just over 4 tenths between the two. Brakes late there, nearly crashed into the side of him. Bit of a hairy moment there. And that can unfortunately put the nail in the coffin for Sebastian. Had a bit of a wide moment coming into turn 12. And the gap between him and our leader, Suka F1, is now 7 tenths. However, the battle for third place is really on. William is going to be looking for the move down the inside. And this is the move for second place in the championship too. So William is up into third place. Meanwhile, Suka F1 is going to get his 6th win of the season. Suka F1 crosses the checkered flag. Sebastian is right behind him. Quesley is a few laps down. He crosses the checkered flag. But a great final lap for William, who manages to take second place in the standings away from Darrell, who is going to finish in 5th place, just ahead of Race Chase. And a really positive race for Race Chase and RK44. They are outside of the top 10 of the driver standings so far, but particularly Race Chase is probably going to end up in the top 10 of the driver standings coming out of this round. Then that's Enzo, our final driver in the top 10. Our reserve driver for today. He is in the points playing positions, but it won't count to Ferrari's team standings tally, as he's a reserve driver for them for this round only. Very close battle at the end between Quincy and Skid Solo. Skid Solo just about manages to get ahead of Quincy on the line. Quincy drops to 12th place. And then comes Racing Real in the Alpine, who finishes 13th. Duca and the Haas will be in 14th. Haas not having a particularly good round. Same for Mercedes, so they might lose a few positions in the championship in the team standings. Okay, so that is round 9 complete. That is, we are now at the halfway point of the season 5 of the Maba Racing Championship. There we can see Suka F1 on the top step of the podium for the 6th time this season. However, we are only halfway through the season, and it's only a 50-point gap, just over a 50-point gap between our championship leader Suka F1 and Darrell in the Aston Martin. That could easily close with 9 rounds to go. There on the podium there, the Alfa Romeo, the Ferrari, and the Williams. Suka F1 also set the fastest lap, so he will gain another point because of that. Actually, there might not be a point for fastest lap in the Maba Racing game, I'm not sure of that. Okay. I'll give another overview of the top 10. So Suka F1 won the race, just ahead of Sebastian, who finished 3 tenths behind them as we approach the checkered flag. William rounds up the podium positions in the Ferrari and manages to take second place in the championship. Andrew is in 4th place, finished 4th place ahead of Darrell, in 5th place in the Aston Martin. Race Chase and RK44 and Diego having really good races. They'll be gaining positions in the championship standings. Chonk, Enzo rounding up the top 10. Skid Solo, Quincy, Racing Real, Verdugo, Quesley outside the top 10. Heights and Sinful DNF'd on the opening laps of the race. So that's it for round 9 of the championship. We'll see you for round 10 in Jeddah. Thank you for watching.